Hi, this is The Great Expanse. This video is going to be a little different from usual. So, for the past few months, I've been working on my free-to-play mobile game, Cavern Clinger. I recently published it in both the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store, and I thought, hey, why not share a little bit about it? So, here we are, I guess. To preface, Cavern Clinger is an endless cave swinger game. You travel through the cavern, collect gems, and avoid the lava wall following you. With these gems, you can purchase items and skins with different abilities to help you travel further. And there's a global leaderboard where you can compete for the top spot. The game's actually pretty challenging to play, and it takes time for a lot of people to get used to. But I'm not here to brag about it. Please download, I'm begging you, my children are starving and they don't like beans. I'm just going to talk about my process in making it. When I first started making this game, all those decades ago, I really had no idea what I was doing. Occasionally I have to go back to the code I wrote for this game at the beginning, and every time I spend like an hour refactoring the absolute garbage I originally wrote. Like, one common thing that Unity developers will say is that you shouldn't call the Git component method too often. However, I, being a little clown, apparently decided to call Git component over 15 times in the update method of only one script. It felt pretty good fixing it all, I guess, even though ultimately the performance difference is pretty much zero. What I'm really trying to get at here is that your own incompetence shouldn't really stop you. You eventually get the hang of it and become slightly less incompetent. The actual game development part of this project was really slow at first, but eventually it sped up. Honestly, if I were to start this project completely fresh today with what I know now, it would probably take only 2 to 3 months, but I mean, you gotta start somewhere. For the first 2 months of this project, I didn't use or know about coroutines, so that gives you a good reference for how stupid I am. The most difficult thing in the entire process was probably the actual hook shooting and swinging mechanic. I went through probably 3 to 4 iterations of the system before I was happy with it, but that was early in the project, so it was probably more due to my incompetence than actual technical difficulty. All the system is now is just a line renderer while the hook is shooting, and then when the hook lands, it creates a series of rigid bodies connected with hinge joint components, which creates a rope for swinging. Originally, it worked that the segments of the rope were created as the hook traveled further away, instead of all at once. However, that didn't really work for various reasons, which I'm not getting into because I don't want to bring those memories back. Another more memorable part of the project was the actual terrain generation. I probably did this in a stupid way, but all I did to create the terrain generation was 1. Generate a series of points for the terrain to follow, 2. Set those points onto a polygon collider for the collision, and then 3. Lay a mesh renderer and line renderer on top to make the terrain visible. Not sure if that was stupid or not, but it worked, and it was also one of those things I did early on in the project. Then, I just placed obstacles randomly over the terrain, like boxes, spikes, and spiky enemies, obviously making sure they don't overlap if I don't want them to. I'm happy with the terrain generation, but I still might come back to it at some point, as I feel it's a little bare bones right now. I want to add stuff like splitting paths, more variation in the terrain, and more terrain types, besides the basic cavern, ceiling, and empty cavern types. Just, more variation to spruce it up a bit. But really the thing I was the most out of my element with wasn't the actual game, it was the artwork. I'm no artist, but I ended up pretty happy with how the game looks. I went with a simplistic vector art style because if I went with anything more complicated, the game would have looked awful. This was the first sprite I made for the game, and it's a little dated compared to newer skins, but I'm a little nostalgic for it now, so I didn't change it. Pretty much my entire art style for the game is draw object, add shading lines, and then spruce it up a bit. Bam, done, we gotta rock. They didn't call me the Josh Allen of art back in college for nothing. The only thing in the game I didn't make myself was the sound effects, which I got from freesound.com, which is a pretty handy website for sound effects. Almost anything I needed was there to use for free. All I had to do was credit the various artists in the credits and then modify them a bit for use in my game, and that was it. Very easy. I'll link their site in the description. For both online aspects of the game, the leaderboard and ads, I use Unity services. We'll see if I regret that later, but for now they work pretty smoothly. I swear I'm not shilling for Unity, but their online services work pretty great and they're really easy to set up. Legacy Unity ads is super easy to get going. I tried getting their Unity level play to work, which they recommend to use, but it just wouldn't for whatever reason. So I used Legacy Unity ads instead, and it went as smooth as peanut butter. Why did I write that? Don't get too upset though, because all the ads in-game are rewarded ads, so you can choose to watch them or not, because forced ads are super obnoxious. Unity leaderboards was similarly easy to set up, and I got my first entry on the leaderboard up fairly quickly. However, one issue I have is the inability to edit the leaderboard from their website. You can see the leaderboard from their site, but you can't do anything like delete scores or change names. You can only delete scores from the leaderboard by going through their web API, which is a little annoying. But to be fair, their leaderboard service is pretty new, and it's actually still in beta as of this video releasing, so it probably was a mistake using it in an actual release, but I'll just hope for the best and hope they don't change anything too much. Speaking of the leaderboard, my brother and my friend have actually been competing for the top spot, and right now I think the highest scores are around 7,000. But I really want to see someone beat them, so if one of you wants to take up the task of beating them both, I would love to see it. If anyone does manage to do it, let me know in the comments and I'll give you a big, "Great job, son." Just make sure your username in-game is the same as your YouTube username, so I can confirm it's you, because I'm not giving out any paternal approval to those who don't earn it. Updates to Cavern Clinger will be coming. I have already released one feature update which introduced the leaderboard and items, but my friend made a music track for the game which is better than the current one I made, so that gives me an excuse to upload at least one more update in the future. Currently, I'm working on a boss battle, which is one thing to be excited for. Totally unbiased here, but I think it's pretty cool. If you have any suggestions for the game before then, let me know in the comments. Just remember, if you see anything that looks like a bug, it's not, it's a feature. If anyone wants to see a video on the actual upload process for both Android and Apple, again, let me know in the comments, but I can't imagine anyone else wants to experience that, even secondhand. On a final note, I've been using Apple search ads in order to advertise my game on the App Store, but I haven't been doing it long enough to really report anything. That costs money though, so I decided to advertise to you for the past 10 minutes for absolutely free, you sheep. I guess that's everything. Download my game or else you're banned from any future videos. Sorry, I don't make the rules. If you hated this video, then you're also banned. Otherwise, next video I'm going to be working on something new, so stay tuned. See you next time, bye-bye.